So we've filmed some videos using Odin where we took a look at the Landon heads up challenge versus Bill. Obviously now there's been some more news on that challenge. I don't know if you want to go through that, Rory.
Yeah, so Landon reached out to Bill on Twitter saying, hey, Bill, if you want to play, I'll give you 9 big blinds per 100. Bill's like, yum, yum. Yes, he snapped it off. 5,000 hands into the challenge. Landon was winning at about 8 big blinds per 100, which is around the spot. He then had 2 bad sessions. I think it was 800 hands, brought his big blind per 100 win rate down to 3.25. So it's like a bit of a swing, but nothing disastrous. They go cold for a couple of days, and then Landon posts this on Twitter, and he's basically withdrawn from the challenge. There was a $200,000 buyout on Landon's part, so they paid that out, and then the challenge is over.
Okay, so we have an open and a call. Flop is 985 rainbow. Nothing to report so far. Looks like we have a check from Landon straight away. Imagine we're going to see some larger sizes on this board, and that's about 2/3 this size. What would you say?
Yeah, 2/3. I think it makes sense. We probably don't want to have too many small bets on this board. Fairly neutral board. Have to be kind of careful. That's strange where it just shows you the hands right away.
Yeah. So I guess now we know the hands, but that isn't the final action. But this is a replay. So I guess we're just getting to see the action already. So Landon does go for the raise with 6-4 here, which is the bear gut shot with some double backdoor flush draw blockers. So he's matching some of the suits. I think it's slightly wide. I guess heads up, it's going to be more okay. I like the suit choices.
Yeah, I mean,
if he had a heart in his hand, I'd hate it a lot more.
Pre-flop is like even pretty speculative. I mean, I don't know what ranges you've seen, but I don't know what rake they're playing. If you're playing like 10K NL heads up on stars, this is probably a pure fold. But I mean, if you're playing like a VIP like Bill, I can get behind this. I think I would defend this as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, the flop is pretty speculative. Like when you're looking at this spot and you're facing a big bet, it's very different to when you're facing a small bet.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill's already starting to polarize his range. And when you think of all of the hands that you can choose from for how to construct your check raise bluffing range, it's like, this has got to be far down. Like think of all like the offsuit gut shots you have, like King 7 off, Queen 7 off, Jack 7 off. That's a double gutter. But so we have like,
well, it's not just that. It's the fact that Bill can still call with all those hands. And like if he calls all his 10x and his pings in, whatever, you know, you hit your 7 and he's there with his Jack 10s and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a disaster.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the major factors when you're looking at what to check raise. It's like, think about what happens on later streets. So you check raise this spot against a pretty polarized range, and he can either fold or he can call or 3-bet. So if he calls and you hit your best card, the 7, are you even going to get 3 streets with this straight and he's going to call down? And then obviously when he has Jack 10, which he's going to have pretty much all combos of, you're just going to get stacked 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So if this was me, I would probably choose like a much higher equity gut shot, other hands as well, hands that can improve more.
Do you like it more the King 7s and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, King 7, Queen 7, Queen 10, Queen Jack, these kind of hands. You just need more equity against this large size.
Yeah.
I think
the overcards are going to help, obviously, when he's going to potentially call himself with 6-4 in position. Then you've got a tiny bit of showdown with the King 7s, etc. As for Bill, I think he's got a pretty standard call here. I'd never consider 3-betting this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say never. Yeah, I'm not sure in this exact spot, but I do know on these middling connected boards, I guess this is more relevant for when we see better small size, when the big blind has more of like a linear check raise range. So they'll have like some Queen 9s, some Jack 9s and stuff. Mm-hmm. Once we start seeing this linear check raise range from the big blind, I think we want to start having like a fairly wide free betting range that could include hands like King 9, Ace 9 and stuff. But against this large size, I don't think we would do much 3-betting.
Yeah, the way I try and think about that with like the Ace 9 and the King 9s being more 3-bets is just whether you can improve your hand or not. And like the 10 really does help you here in your calling range because the turn coming a Jack, a Queen, a 7, a 6. The 10 is still helping you, whereas the Ace, like 3-betting versus some of this kind of stuff on the flop and getting value from worse with Ace 9 makes a bit more sense than with 10-9, I think.
For sure.
All right, let's go. So this is Odin. So as you can see, basically it's Pio Solver but already done for you, right? So this is just, you can click through it, which is what we're about to do. We're going to take a look at the 6-4 hand. If you want to see more about how to use this, we've got a video on how to do that, but we're just going to take a look at the 6-4 hand now. So this is the flop, 9-8-5 rainbow, and Landon goes for the check and then goes for the check raise. Bill's there with the 10-9 of diamonds.
So we can see Bill's mostly betting for a big size with his hand, checking sometimes. He prefers to bet with the 10-9s that have the backdoor flush draw and mostly likes to check with the one that doesn't.
Yep, makes sense. So he played it perfect
He
so
goes for
far.
a bet. So Landon in these ranges. So these pre-flop ranges were solved with 10k and L heads up on stars. So that rake structure means that we always fold 6-4 offsuit. So I don't know what rake structure he's using. So we can look at 6-4 suited without a backdoor, and that's going to be the same as like 6-4 off.
Yeah. And so it's still a fold, even with the backdoor flush draw pretty much all the time. So offsuit's going to be even more of a fold.
I mean, even if you look like ace 6 off, king 6 off, queen 6 off, all of these are folds.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that a lot of people have weakness in, where facing a big bet, they're so used to facing these like 1/3 C bets, because like everyone just C bets 1/3 with everything, that they're not used to adjusting their range to this large sizing. So let's take a look firstly at if Bill C bets small, what you should do, and then you'll be able to see what the difference is in terms of response, because he's putting in an extra 2.5 big blinds. So here, all of these become calls, like, you know, 6-4 suited. So even 6-4 off is a fold against quarter pot, it seems, for half the time. So all of these become calls, but Bill did C bet big, so we'll look at that. That's just something to always be very mindful of. Be sensitive to the size that your opponent bets. Bill bets big, and there's not much to say here. It's just like, I think you need to get a good idea of drilling through these spots to realize, okay, these weak gut shots with no overcards are just shit. Yeah, because so see here, there's a huge difference between 7x and 6x. That's because when we have 6x and the 7 comes, we don't have close to the nut straight. So there's two straights that absolutely dominate us. That would be the 6-10 and then the Jack-10. Whereas when we have the 7x, if the 6 comes, it's only 7-10 that really smashes us, and we block that. So that's going to be the difference between 6x and 7x here. So I'd much prefer to see Landon do it with 7-4. But
cool. Can we run it for so we run it for the raise, and then let's assume that we got the random frequency of 6-4 suited.
So he goes for the small raise, and let's see what Bill does.
Bill calls, and interesting, he could have a 3-betting range here. Let's have a look at kind of hands he's 3-betting. So some of his sets, so you can click on the 35% pinky beige color, so we can have a quick look at exactly what he's maybe 3-betting. So it's pocket jacks. That makes some sense, because he obviously wants to protect versus all of his pair plus draws he's check raising. 2 pair 9-8, the top pair gut shot, obviously the nuts straight a bunch, the sets, so nothing crazy, but we're using a bit more 6-4 than he is, which is kind of cool, because that's kind of inverted, isn't it? Because like if he's check raising me with all these like king 7s or 7-4s or whatever, when we 3-bet them, it's actually slightly better, because we then undominate ourselves, because he's going to fold all those hands now.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't know, personally, I'm finding it very
hard to
difficult to find this. I don't find the 3-bet on the flop with 6-4 suited here personally. That's a hard play to find. But the other hands make a lot of sense. Well, I guess some stuff like 10-9 suited, 9-7 suited don't make a lot of intuitive sense, because you think you have a bluff catcher. So I guess one way to look at this would be, okay, what does this 3-bet achieve? So say we go 3-bet and we can see what Landon is supposed to fold. So I guess the 10-9 suited likes to 3-bet to immediately fold out these ace-7, king-7, the jack-6, jack-5, 10-5 kind of hands. Well, you probably don't want to fold out the 10-5.
Well, you're still getting a little bit of value as well from like, for example, like even if he just calls 9-8 and then we get to check down, we're potentially not losing as much when he barrels off on some brick turns. What we have to call, he's calling some 7-5s, he's calling some jack 10s. We're still getting value from some stuff as well as folding out some like overcards. Cool. So Bill goes for the call, and we see the deuce of spades turn. I imagine now that we have made the check raise, now we turn a spade, we are going to be going for this. In my head, I'm going to lean towards a very large sizing here. I don't know which stack size, whether I do get an overbet in here, maybe a small overbet, but then I'm bluffing basically all spades and giving up most rivers. Other than that, that's basically how I'm going to play this hand.
Yeah, I mean, once we get this turn, it's like the absolute gin card, except for when we hit our straight. So we turn a double gut shot and we block that backdoor flush draw. I mean, we just have to go with this. In terms of an overbet, I think like a large size, like 80% or pot makes sense. But if you look at our value range, which is going to be polarized, like we're not going to be check raising much like king 9 or ace nine and like barreling and jamming turn with those hands. So like our value range is something like 2 pair plus.
Yep.
So when we think about that range, it doesn't need a ton of protection. Yeah, there's a backdoor flush draw. Yeah, there are a couple of gut shots, but it's not like Bill is going to be calling the turn with like king seven, ace seven. He's going to fold those to an 80% or 100% pot anyway. He's going to be calling the jack tens even to an overbet as well. So I think it makes more sense with this SPR to set up a river jam.
Yeah,
so
I think with this SPR, I'm leaning against the overbet. If we, for example, were like 60k deep here, I'm having an overbet range like 1.5x probably, and I'm still like with all my value, I'm still going to be targeting is like 9-7 of spades, 6-5 of spades, all that kind of stuff. That's just basically never folding to any size on the turn. So it's not necessarily that I want protection with my value. It's more that I want value with my value.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's see what he does. He's probably thinking about exactly what we just said.
Yeah, I mean, especially heads up, these timing tells are so interesting. If you're not, I guess Landon might be timing down to the 1 second every hand in these 3-bet pots. So I guess we'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, again, as Bill, I think I'm just clicking call here most of the time. I'm not really thinking about it too much. I think there's nothing much more to say about that one.
Nah, I mean, this is super standard. Yeah.
Would you ever consider
I like
a jam?
Landon's bet size.
I guess not this stack.
Would I consider jamming 10-9? Nah, never.
Yeah, maybe ace
we have like a pure bluff catcher at this point. Okay. I'm like on a bunch of rivers probably folding. I'm already scared at this point. My opponent would have to be like aggressive. I would start folding this against some more passive opponents.
Okay.
But not Landon, so.
Okay, understood.
So the deuce of spades comes on the turn. The reason why you see so few combos here is because we don't really use that small check raise size that Landon used on the flop. So when we do want to check raise this board, we want to do it with a polarized range. And generally with polarized ranges, you want to go for a larger size. So that's why you're seeing not many combos here. But let's take a look at what 6-4 should have done. So I'm taking off the weighted strategy button.
So we're going to see everything first.
And it shows if you get to this spot with 6-4, even though you shouldn't have, it shows it's 100% barrel, which makes a lot of sense. Like, I think it's very intuitive. You pick up a double gut shot, you've got probably the worst hand that you can possibly have in this spot. So yeah, easy barrel. And for a big size, so Landon got that right.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so we do start to fold some 10-9 suitors without the flush draw on the turn.
Yeah, and we'll start jamming maybe some ace-9.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the jam range is pretty much just ace-9.
Yeah, and we're not using ace-9 of spades. We're usually always calling that.
Yeah, but even then, it's still pretty low frequencies. So we have some small raises, some like 2.5x raises with pocket 8s, pocket 5s for the sets, and then choosing our bluffs, blocking the 6-7 with pocket 7s. So that's pretty interesting.
And the 10 of spades river, I think, is a pretty clear jam from the 6-4 here. Blocking the 6-7, blocking the backdoor flush draw. If it wasn't a 10 of spades, maybe we could argue not doing it. But with the spade as well, I feel like this is just, we get this over the line. We're 6 high.
Easiest jam in the world. Yeah. I mean, we literally can never have like a worse hand here. So like we can never have, maybe we can have 6-3. Maybe Landon can have 6-3 off.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just a mandatory jam, and Bill has like a mandatory call. So
you've made 2 pair now, buddy.
Sometimes these hands just play themselves. But Bill's not loving it. Bill's not like,
yeah, you're not going, yes, I've got 2 pair. You're going, oh fuck, here you go. Here's 2 pair. Here's your money.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of combos that he beats. So like all the 9-8 offs, all the 8-5 offs. Yeah.
Cool. So pretty speculative, you'd say, from the flop. I think once he does check raise the flop, I think I'm pretty okay with it. But the defend pre slightly loose, but could be okay versus Bill. But the check raise on the flop a little bit too wide. Well, a lot too wide.
Yeah. So I think if you break it down like that, it's like, okay, there was only like one mistake. But for me, it's like when you make that huge mistake on the flop, and I think it is a huge mistake, the error compounds. And then suddenly you're in a spot where you have to barrel turn and then you have to jam the river. So it's like, I think really getting a good idea of the fundamentals of what your check raise range should look like is important here, because otherwise now you've lost a whole buy-in with 6 high. So obviously Landon doesn't get to the river with all of these hands, but this is a feature where if you untick the weighted strategy, this shows you what you should have done if you had got to the river with that spot. So we can see 6-4 off, always jamming all of its combos.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think there's much to say there. Bill is going to have a very easy call with top 2 because, yeah, always calling. So Landon probably still gets to jam some 2 pairs on this run out. So there's no way we can ever fold top 2. It's like you're not in love with it, but you can still never fold.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I like that hand. I don't like the check raise on the flop, but then after that, I thought both players played it pretty good.
Yeah. I would probably give Landon 3 out of 10 for this spot and give Bill, I mean, I guess a 10 out of 10.
I don't think he can do anything different there as Bill, so I think we've got to give him 10 out of 10 by that logic. Landon, I'm going to be slightly less harsh. I agree with basically what you just said is the mistake on the flop is way worse than making a mistake on the river because of the compounding effect. So I think that we should weight that. But I'll be slightly nicer. I'll give him 4. I like that he's barreled. I like to think that he's been thinking. You know, I like where his head's at once he's done that, and I appreciate that because I think that means he's a thinking player and he just got slightly wrong on the flop. So I don't want to punish him too much for that. So I'd even go maybe a 5. Yo, if you enjoyed that review and you'd like to access Odin yourself, it's going to be released very soon. Follow the link to the website, join their Discord. They'll be letting you know when it's released fully. I'll be releasing a discount code. So if you subscribe to this channel, you get the discount 20% off when it first comes out. If not, just subscribe to this channel anyway and you'll see all the hands anyways. Catch you on the next one and all the best. Also, if you actually want it for free, if you join my academy, I'll be giving this day one for free as well. So see you soon.